Hey everybody, I'm moving, as in tomorrow, and this is the very first real-world video that I've ever made. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw out all of my games. Normally I keep all of my media, all of my books, all of my videos, all of my games, but I don't really have any strong connection to the games I've picked up in the PS3 era and later, so I figured what I'd do is I'd go through all of the games, real quick, one by one, here on camera, and I'd give my opinion on all of the games of the past decade that I happen to have here. I didn't buy all of these games. A lot of them were either gifts or inherited from people who are moving out of state, but I have a lot of them, so let's go ahead and get started. And I'm pointed kind of randomly here, I'm afraid, because I need to be able to reach my speakers, my microphone, and of course I'm moving and the place is full of boxes. So first I'll just take a look at the loose discs I happen to have. I'm sure that we'll come across the cases for these later, but since I'm throwing them all out, I don't really care. I think I bought or inherited every single RPG of the era, at least all of the big ones. So for example, here's one, Time and Eternity. I don't remember anything about it. I probably bought it back when I was getting literally everything I could. Now, here is an interesting one. Saints Row the Third. This is actually available on Steam and a couple of other places, and it's, I have a lot of friends who like Saints Row the Second best. I actually like Saints Row the Third best because I like goofy games a lot more than I like, nitty-gritty. Saints Row 2 had its moments of fun, but it was by and large a fairly serious game, and Saints Row 3 was where they introduced all of the silliness, and you could do things like dress yourself up as a clown, and it would just straight-faced go through every single dialogue with you as a clown. All the cutscenes, you would be a clown. That was great. Saints Row 4 is pretty good, but unfortunately, Saints Row 3 and Saints Row 4, neither of them really had the staying power that they needed, the modding power that they needed to stay on top for a long period of time. I would love to see an open-world game come along that was as moddable as Skyrim, and was set in the present time or in the future. Here's one I inherited, Naughty Bear Double Trouble. I played it for about 4 minutes, and it was about a bear that kills other stuffed animals. Oh, Lollipop Chainsaw. This one gets a lot of flack because it has a really silly main character design, which is obviously built to appeal to men of the age I was when it came out. I guess it came out fairly recently, actually. Either way, it's basically an arcade cut-em-up, and it's kind of fun. I actually liked it. Obviously, there was a lot of stupid stuff in it, but that was kind of par for the course. Like Saints Row the Third, stupid stuff is the name of the game. Oh, heavy hitter. Dragon's Dogma, perhaps the best RPG on the PS3, and soon to be, perhaps the best RPG on the PC, because the update is coming out in January, and I'm going to be buying it, and all of you need to go buy it. You can wait until it's been fixed or patched, because I'm sure that the PC release is going to be buggy as hell. But Dragon's Dogma is a fantastically innovative RPG, and it has a lot of really nice mechanics. It's probably the first RPG to do massively single-player gameplay, and it also has a lot of creativity in its combat engine and in creating characters. I liked it a lot. I don't even know what this is. I think I got an NIS Super Pack at some point. This is Mugen Souls. It's an NIS game. I don't know anything about it. Oh, this is hilarious. So, I'm sure that you have probably heard about the new movie about the Marvel Civil War arc. I'm not a big fan of that arc, and I explained why somewhere else. But this is, of course, a fighting game with all the Marvel characters in it, and it was a fighting game. Unfortunately, I'm starting to get a little bit old, and my reflexes aren't what they were. I don't enjoy fighting games as much as I used to. Here. This was obnoxious. I bought it on the PS3. That was a mistake. I finally went ahead and bought it again for the PC just a few weeks ago, and it is still quite good. This is XCOM Enemy Unknown, and the newer version, XCOM Enemy Within, which I don't have for the PS3, of course. It is a fantastic game, which is hilarious because all of the other new XCOM games are terrible. Just awful. Oh, what's this? Ooh. Resi Evil 5. Everybody loves themselves some Resi Evil 5. This game had the worst writing, but that's okay. That's kind of what Resident Evil's about. Oh, a surprise hit from the past. Driver San Francisco. This was a shockingly good game. I bought it for PS3, and I was really nervous because it was an Ubisoft game, and Ubisoft really screws up. They haven't done anything right in a real long time. If they have a hit, it's in spite of their name, and in spite of their corporate shenanigans. But Driver San Francisco is fantastic. It's a driving game, an open world driving game. It's like GTA 5, except without all of the stuff that's not driving. And the driving has been polished really, really excellently. And you play a guy who's in a coma, and as he's in a coma, he darts around the city, and he can jump into any car he sees. And it's just a lot of fun. They are very, very smart in how they design the various quests and the various missions and how things work. If you haven't played Driver San Francisco and you like driving around in cities, I would highly recommend it. Last Rebellion. Now, I have played Last Rebellion, but since there's no art on the cover from in the game, I can't remember it. Let's go ahead and pull it up. Last Rebellion. Let's go ahead and get ourselves some art from it and just see what it was like. Oh, that was the one where you could play switch between. Oh, it was the guy with the two swords, and then I think there was you could like switch between the male and female main characters, and I don't think it made very much impact on me. If it's the game I'm thinking of, I got really bored of it after about 2 hours. Samurai Basara. Samurai Heroes. Oh, Sengoku Basara. Samurai Heroes. It's a fighting game. I think it was just a straight-up fighting game. I think that the Samurai Heroes line is very much like Street Fighter with weapons. And, of course, at the time, I was slowly getting older, and I was losing my edge. One of the big things about fighting games is if you don't have anyone to play them with, they're really dull. And I had finished up college, and I was no longer hanging out with all of my college friends. So, all the fighting games I bought, none of them were appreciated at their value because I didn't have anyone to play them with, and online play is really awful. At least I've always found it to be. Here is an interesting game, BioShock Infinite. Now, I know that a lot of you probably liked BioShock Infinite, but it's the worst game ever made. I hate it. I hate it so much that it changed my entire outlook on games. So BioShock Infinite is an important game to me. It marked a time of change. I would say that it marked the dividing era, the dividing year between my ex-college years and my adulthood. What year was that anyway? 2013? Sounds a little bit late, but okay. Oh, hilarious. Time Crisis. All of the Time Crisis games are worth playing. They're hilarious. The problem with these games is that if you do not have the correct hardware to play them, they can be quite obnoxious. I don't remember them very distinctly, but they're all supremely awful in the best way imaginable. Oh, another one. House of the Dead Overkill. Similarly, this is one of those where you really need to have a hardware gun, and it is hilarious. Speaking of House of the Dead, Typing of the Dead came to Steam a while back. If you've never played Typing of the Dead, and you are at least, say, 16, you should go play it on Steam. It is the funniest game, and I'm telling you right now, go play Typing of the Dead. Typing, as in keyboard noises. Now what's this? Star Ocean: The Last Hope. I have an interesting relationship with the Star Ocean games. Over the course of their various releases, I have loved every single one, and I haven't ever finished any of them. These are games which have an astounding amount of depth, but the problem is that they also have a best path. And I'm a little bit obsessive about that sort of thing, so once I find out that a game has the best path, I always go and find a walkthrough. And when I'm following a walkthrough, the game isn't as fun, and I lose steam, and I stop playing, which is a little bit sad, because Star Ocean is really my kind of game. That's the kind of game I like, aside from the fact that I can't stop looking at walkthroughs. Sonic Generations. One of the good ones. So many Sonic games, and they're all really awful. But not that one. Into the trash bag. Let's move on. Oh, I'm going to be here for a long, long time. PS Vita games. Dungeon Hunter. I don't remember that. I don't remember Dungeon Hunter at all. I think it was one that just turned out to be crap. And Touch My Katamari. This one was not as good as the console Katamari games. If you've never played the console Katamari games and you have a console, go buy all of the console Katamari games for your consoles. Except the PS Vita one. It really wasn't as good. Which is kind of odd, because the PS Vita had the right hardware to do a Katamari game. It's a disappointment when you've got all the tools you need and you still screw it up. Why do I have so many just discs? 10 years ago, I was really bad about putting things back in their cases. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. PlayStation All-Stars is a really interesting game. It's obviously the PlayStation's attempt to fight back against Nintendo's Smash Brothers, but it had some really interesting mechanics behind it, and I really liked the ideas. I like brawling games more than I like tournament fighters these days, but that was the only brawling game I'd ever found where you couldn't die from an ordinary attack. You had to build up and use a super, and that meant that understanding exactly how each character's supers worked was really important. And that was a really cool idea. It's too bad everyone hated it. Soul Calibur 5, another tournament fighter. I liked these games because you could build your own fighters. But as I recall, I didn't like it for any other reason. And of course, like every human, I played Borderlands and Borderlands 2. Don't think you need my review of them. If you do, pretty good. Disgaea 3. I liked all the Disgaea games. The funny thing about Disgaea is that every consecutive Disgaea game, all of the characters wear more clothes. It's pretty funny. It's like the guys who made Disgaea, they're obviously perverts, and when they made the very first one and the second one, they were flying under the radar, and they could have their mostly naked cat ladies running around, but every single time that they were a success, they had to be a little bit more acceptable to the mainstream audiences. I mean, if you look back, the very first, the one with Laharl in it, which I think was Disgaea 2, all of the main characters were basically nothing. And then in the most recent one, they're all students wearing uniforms and ties and stuff. The Atelier games. Atelier Totori. I don't remember any of the Atelier games distinctly. They all blend together, and I've never finished any of them, but I like their mood. I like the idea of playing them. However, putting them on a console means that they're the sort of thing where physically I have to sit down and turn on a TV and put in the game and really prep myself. If the Atelier games were phone games, something I could sit down and play for half an hour on my phone or on my commute, I think I'd enjoy them a lot more, just because they're very laid back. They're like a cross between an RPG and they're like an RPG with the mood of Animal Crossing. Ni no Kuni. Everyone liked this game but me. I thought it was crap. Looked good though. Very nice to look at. Oh, now we're getting into the inherited games. Agrest Wars 0. I got that when I asked my friend who was planning to throw out all of his games for all of his games, because he had this one, Ico, Shadow of the Colossus. Now this, of course, is a famous game, and rightly so. I can't say that you should go play it, because I think it's hard to find, but you should at least go watch an LP of it. Fallout New Vegas. A lot of people like it. I don't really care for it. I didn't like Fallout 4 very much either, although I did a lot of videos with it. It's not that they're bad games, it's just that they weren't aimed right. I found that they lost their spark too fast. Resonance of Fate. Now this is another game that I think I'd recognize if I saw some in-game art, so let's go ahead and type it into Google. Resonance of Fate. Oh, this is the one with the guns, of course! Assuming that this is in fact the one with the guns, I really liked the ideas and the design of this game. It was just such a shame it wasn't playable. I didn't ever enjoy playing it, even though I enjoyed every little element of it individually. It's a strange game where each piece shone quite brightly, but all of the pieces combined didn't. Very odd. Had a lot of stuff in it, though. You could customize your weapons and customize your clothes and customize everything. It was great. Except for the fact that it wasn't. Genji, Days of the Blade. I think this is just a fighting game. Dark Souls, of course. Hancock. That is not a video game, but I know I happen to know where that empty DVD case is. It's over there. Disgaea 4. Notice how now he is wearing a suit. PS3 Skyrim. I think I own Skyrim for every console it came out for. I really enjoyed Skyrim. I still enjoy Skyrim. I use mods a lot, and I like the fact that it can be modded so easily. Well, aside from Ico, all of you into the trash. Throwing out Ico would be like throwing out the Venus de Milo. Just can't do it, even if you hate art. Oh. Band-Aids. Band-Aids. I remember playing with them. Oh, those are fake cards, I see. Those aren't video games, so we won't review them. Yes. This Yeast game was not the best. It wasn't bad. I enjoyed it enough. The problem is that everything Xseed publishes feels the same. There's like this weird taste to it that comes probably from it being really, really deeply ingrained into Japanese culture, and not the nice parts that I like. That's a nice way of saying that everyone at Xseed is a pervert. Far Cry 3, pretty good game. Into the trash. Well, the lighting is making my arm look really, really fat. It's important to me. Oh, now we're getting into the DS games. Luigi's Mansion. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. The music for this game is fantastic. It's actually a very unique game, and short. If you happen to see it available, you should go play it. Final Fantasy Tactics, War Lions. I think that was the Final Fantasy Tactics game that came out later. I don't think that was the original one, but I loved all the Final Fantasy Tactics games. They were all kind of fluffy, not as tactically deep as I might have liked, but they were still pretty good. Knights in the Nightmare. I don't even remember it. I think it was a tactical game that was really, really, really indie. But that's fine. I don't know what this is. Rengoku. I don't think I played it. I don't remember it at any rate. It's my bargain bin days. That was back when I was not using Steam, because Steam had pissed me off by selling me broken games one too many times. Oh god, it's getting dusty. What is this? A monster expansion for Dungeon World, I guess. Well, I won't throw that out. I'll put it in my RPG case. So here's Ni no Kuni again. That's what the cover looks like. Beautiful game, just not fun. A big part of the problem was your incredibly stupid allies. Fallout New Vegas. Phantasy Star Portable. Phantasy Star is a series I really liked. Back in the ye old days, I would really, really love replaying Phantasy Star 2 and 3. I even replayed Phantasy Star once a couple of times, although I had to do it on an emulator. The characters walk really slowly, and I wanted to turn up the speed. So that was fun. The newest Phantasy Star games are largely just Monster Hunters without the Monster Hunter. They're not as potent as the old days. You have to remember that the old Phantasy Stars, way back in the day, Phantasy Star Generations. Those games had a lot of meat to them. They said a lot of things, and they had a lot of things that left an impact on my young mind. Unlike Dishonored, which everyone liked but me. I thought it was pretty. Oh. Time Crisis. Wild Arms XF. Wild Arms was an excellent, excellent game back in the day. The Astonishia story. I don't remember it. Hakuoki, Demon of Fleeting Bloss. Really? I have to look that up because that's a weird name. Oh. Looks like it's some kind of story game. I probably never played it. I did not pay $16 for it, I'll tell you that. It looks like it might be about catching guys. I don't recall playing any game about dating guys. Last Rebellion again. This was the one we covered a little while ago. What's in this? Oh, it's really heavy. It's got a instruction manual in it. Kind of rare. The music of Mugen Souls. You can tell by the incredibly foggy cover, the inch of dust on top, that I have never played it. As I said, I don't even remember Mugen Souls. I think it's by Xseed. No, wait, it was by NIS. Either way. Cinematic Titanic Live. The Alien Factor. This is not, in fact, a game. It is a video, so I'm keeping it. Of course, it's by Cinematic Titanic. You don't want to not keep it. More Cinematic Titanic. Vampire Reign, Altered Species. This was a good attempt. I really love this kind of game, and if you wanted to see what kind of game I'm talking about, go ahead and YouTube it and watch a quick little snippet of gameplay. It's a tactical game featuring fantastical elements. Unfortunately, the game itself was not very good. If it had been a little bit better, it would have been great. Oh, an indie album I picked up from a local rapper. Well, I won't throw away an indie album I picked up from a local rapper. I'll go ahead and leave that. More Dungeon World stuff. Dynasty Warriors Strike Force. Unlike Jim Sterling, I'm not a huge fan of Dynasty Warriors, but I enjoyed it enough to buy it on sale. Big Trouble in Little China. Excellent movie. But I do have the movie in there. Good. Alright, am I out of games over there? No, I got one more chunk of games down there. Lots of games down here. Oh, look at all these UMDs. Oh, jeez. Let's just grab us a heaping handful of classic UMDs. Like Obscure, The Aftermath. Yeah, don't remember it. Wild Arms. I already showed you that one. What did I do to deserve this, my lord? 2. This is a game about playing a Prinny in Disgaea universe. I think it is. Let's see. Yeah, it's by NIS, so it probably is. Those games were hellish platformers. Persona 2. All of the Persona games were really long. I think the only one I've beaten is Persona 4 Golden. Cave Story 3D. Cave Story is a really excellent platformer. It's available for your PC. You should go get it. Pretty sure you can get this on your Wii U console as well. Cave Story is a really touching game. Into the trash. Luigi's Mansion. Theatrhythm, the beginning of the crap games from Square Enix. Why Square Enix? Why? All those Japanese companies seem to be going down the shitter with Konami and Square Enix. They're all doing shit. Oh, Star Ocean for the portables. As I said, I love the games, never finish them. Infinite Space. Here is a fairly rare game. I don't think it's expensive, I just think it's unusual to see it. This game is really old school, and it was a lot of fun to try and play it. I never finished it because it was a little too old school to actually finish, but a really charmingly old school game. Featured a lot of walking in labyrinths with the old school chunky step-by-step walking, and featured like customizing your spaceships and hiring crew and doing all sorts of complicated stuff, and there was no instruction manual. Ooh, it was really, really hard. It was like the old days when you would try a game and you're like, what's going on? And you're like, okay, I gotta try. I think I figured something out. Oh, I died. Why? Eventually I turned to a walkthrough and beat it, I think. Did I beat it? I got real close. Lots of interesting things. You don't see an old school game like that very often these days. Soul Hackers. I didn't like it. Oh, lovely. The Ace Attorney series. I can't bring myself to throw that out. This one's Trials and Tribulations, which I think was the first one. Either way, all of the Ace Attorney games are fantastic. This is the one I've beaten. Persona 4 Golden. Available digitally now. You don't have to have the box. Shall I grab a bunch more of these? Final Fantasy Tactics. I gotta adjust this light a little bit. Photo Showdown. I don't really remember it. I have played a lot of games. Why did you just dump stuff down here? More Ace Attorney. Miles Edgeworth Investigations. An interesting attempt to shake up the formula. I didn't dislike it. Code of Princess. I think I got this for 99 cents. It's a fighting game. Astro Boy. This was an interesting game. Both old school and modern at the same time. It was too hard. Maybe I was just bad at figuring it out. It had some interesting mechanics to it, like the way that you could dodge in certain ways and not others. But in the end, it felt unforgiving and difficult. Phantasy Star. Into the trash. Oh god, so much dust. Paper Mario Sticker Star. Not as good as Paper Mario. Kingdom Hearts boring. Shin Megami Tensei 4. Much like the Persona series, the Shin Megami Tensei series are unplayably dense. And I've never finished any of them. Persona 4 Golden was at least glorious. could keep me coming back just for the next friend mission. Well, what's this? I happen to have a whole bunch more games. Alan Wake. Everyone liked Alan Wake? I really hate this kind of game. This is one of those games where it is about... it's a meta game. In this case, it's not quite as bad as making a movie about a movie writer, but it is pretty close. It's making a video game about a writer. Everyone loved this, and I found it just so boring. So boring. Trash. Fez. Persona 3 Fez, which I think was one of the first games I showed you today. Disgaea, Hour of Darkness. This is an expansion for Disgaea 2, I believe. The one with Laharl in it, anyway. Or maybe it's a remake, I don't know. It was $40 used, so it's probably an expansion that includes the original game. Anyway, it's for the PlayStation 2. That's how old it is. I really love those games. Just the right combination of, what do you call it? Clever writing, visuals, all that stuff. Hunter, The Reckoning. Oh, I'm back in the era PlayStation 2 game again. Don't know if anyone else has played this, but I remember it. Yeah, it's basically like a... you remember Gauntlet, the new Gauntlet games? It's a lot like that, except that it's based on the very, very decrepit vampire White Wolf games, or at least a clone of them. I'm not sure if it's... Yeah, it is. It's actually White Wolf. Okay, so those games were not very good, but at the time, they were kings. They were the things that everyone plays. Vampire... White Wolf's vampire game. Vampire the Reckoning, I think? Maybe. Anyway, didn't like those games, but I did like the little Gauntlet-like. Katamari. Let's see. Brutal Legend, which I think was by Tim Schafer. Yeah, Double Fine. Not as popular as his later games, I think, but it had a lot of cool elements to it. The bad part about it was the actual game part. Everything else was fantastic. Just goofing off, the characters, the music, the feel, the video, the visuals. It was all great. It was just that the gameplay was terrible. Not terrible, just not interesting. Don't fall out of the trash can. Fallout 3, not New Vegas. Naruto, Rise of a Ninja. This is a really interesting game because it can teach you a lot about game design. Naruto, Rise of the Ninja. Let's see if I can show you this. Features this city, and you run around this city. And it is cleverly done because as your character advances, he learns to integrate with the city better and better. So initially, no one likes him, and he only has access to ground level, and there's a lot of fences and stuff in his way. But as he progresses through the game, more and more people come to like him, and he learns double jumps and rail grinds and all that sort of stuff. And even though the city map doesn't change, you can start to access it in new ways, and it feels different because people are treating you differently. And it's just an incredibly good way to design a hub city. It wasn't a bad game by any means. That was just the thing I remember most about it. It had some serious failings as well, but it's a really cool game to play if you're a game designer because it has a lot of very clear good and bad elements. It's not one of those situations where you're like, well, maybe this is good or this is bad. It's like every single piece of this game, you can tell immediately whether it's good or bad and why, which makes it a lot of fun to analyze. Unfortunately, it's by Ubisoft, and it says here on the box only on the 360, so I'm not sure it's available anywhere else or to anyone else. Let me know if that's like a $400 game, and I'll pull it out. Infinite Undiscovery. Again, the gun game. No, wait. This isn't the gun game. No, Infinite Undiscovery was a different game, sorry. Infinite Undiscovery is the one where you play a guy who chops down chains that hold the moon up, something like that. I was initially excited to play this game because in the first hour or two it feels nice. The characters are all not the standard stereotypes. They're still stereotypes, but they're a little bit different, and the design is a little bit different, and the game feels a little bit more interesting. But in the end, pretty dull. Disgaea 2, Cursed Memories. So Lahara was Disgaea 1, and Disgaea 2 was this guy with the absolutely enormous neckerchief. Maybe that's supposed to be a tie. Oh, I loved all these games. Adele. I think that Disgaea 2 was my least favorite. Oh, and Disgaea 1. The difference between Disgaea 1 and the version of Disgaea 1 that I showed you is that the combat system is a little bit different and a little bit deeper. I think there were a couple of other changes, like maybe they extended it a couple of inches or whatever. La 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 la. The original. Oh, I can't throw that away. Here we are. Dawn of Operation Panties, dude. This is the Prinny platformer. I thought I talked about this before. Maybe I got the other one wrong and it was something else. This Prinny platformer is brutal. It's like all of these modern brutal platformers that are coming out, like Meat Boy. Just a nightmare in the best way possible. Shin Megami Tensei Persona 2. This is back when I wasn't sure what the heck was the difference between Shin Megami Tensei and Persona. To be honest, I'm still not 100% sure. But they seem to have broken apart into distinct games. Either way, this one was unplayable. It might have been playable when it first came out, but when I got around to it, it was real old school. Oh, and a wedding invitation for a wedding that happened in 2011. They must have sent me cookies. How nice. X-Men. Not a game. Patapon 3. I think this was the game where you play, like, drum stuff, and little silhouettes move around on the screen. I wanted to like it, but I didn't. Sengoku Basara, Samurai Heroes. We already covered that. The worst game ever. Oh, that's more Agarest War Zero. Not a very good game. If you really want to play it, it's available on Steam. Star Wars: The Force Unleashed. What a disappointment this was. A lot of people seem to like this game, but I have run a lot of Star Wars games, a lot of tabletop Star Wars games, and I have very, very high expectations for anything that has the Star Wars label because I compare it to my little games. And obviously I am just some amateur dude, so when a professional comes along and releases an actual game and it's not as good as some amateur's stupid little 2-month-long make your own rules game, it's really a huge disappointment. But a lot of people liked it. Yeah. That's not a game, that is Neil Gaiman. Street Fighter. Street Fighter is drowning. The fans are running the asylum. The games have gotten too far up their own butts. Speaking of games that have gotten too far up their own butts, I really liked the Halo series back when it was only 3 long. And the reason I liked it is because of the reason everyone else hated it. I liked the slow, floaty, large, open areas. I liked the feeling of of these games just as I was starting to lose my reaction speed, and I couldn't keep up with any of the first-person shooters against 14-year-olds. Halo 3 came along, and I could win, and I could just do anything, and I could just use the pistol to shoot down absolutely anyone. And I loved these games for the exact same reason everyone else hated them. They were very meditative fighters, very meditative shooters. Dead Rising. This was an interesting series back when zombies were still a little bit fresh, but it was basically a parody of zombie movies, and I'm sure that you all know about Dead Rising. It led to a massive, massive spike in the number of zombie games out there. It's the last zombie game I bought. Again. Why do I have 2 copies of that? Samurai Warriors 2, Empires. Now, I may not like fighting games as much as I used to, but you know what I do like? The Empire series. Why aren't there more of these? I really like these games. They're all based on the Legend of the Three Kingdoms games. I'm not sure if you ever played those. They're really interesting because they are strategy games, but they're not strategy games like you might expect. Instead, there's this big focus on the seasons and on taking advice from your advisors and choosing which advisor to listen to. They were really interesting. Of course, these days everyone just plays the versions and then focuses on the fights in them. If you want that, you can play yourself some Dynasty Warriors, but, you know. You know, I saw someone playing this game online, Twitter. One of the people I follow was playing it, and she wouldn't tell anyone who it was, and she didn't think anyone could guess. It was Project X Zone, which is not a very good game. There are very few games I found funnier, though. It is a huge crossover, just an absolutely massive crossover. But instead of having anything to do with any of the gameplay from any of the original things, it's like a really crappy tactical game. Sort of. And here's the soundtrack. Wind. Manga Studio EX5. Not a game, but quite good. I think I better not throw this out. Shin Megami Tensei 4. Already mentioned it. Yoink. Tales of Xillia. What the heck is this? Oh, wow, I don't remember this at all. Oh, I bought this because it says choose one of 2 distinct heroes. At the time, I was looking for any game that featured someone who wasn't a pretty boy. The Japanese RPGs always have the same main character ever since Final Fantasy VII, and it is really boring. Obscure Aftermath. Look at how covered in dust that is. Let's see, what else have I got? Most of this stuff isn't video games. Dynasty Warriors 8. You can tell how much I played that. Oh, more stuff. Come on. Soul Story Saga, The Curse of the Great Curry Gods. I was into a big roguelike kick at that point, so I bought it because it was a roguelike. Not a bad game, but very weird. It was like a cheerful children's game, except for it was obviously written by some pervy old man. Battle Royale again? More Naughty Bear. This one's covered in dust. I'm going to throw it away. We already covered Naughty Bear. R. Tonalico Quagga. What the hell is this? I don't think I ever played it. I stepped on it a bunch, though. I have a feeling it involves mostly naked ladies. Yay! Yay! That's like a whole trash bag full. Well, still got lots to go. Oh shit, I do have lots to go. Holy Sorry, I didn't realize that entire bookshelf was full of games. This might be a long video. Monty Python Sings. A fantastic game. Dragon Quest IV. Not a bad one. All the Dragon Quest games can be summed up as not a bad one. Oh, Disgaea. DS. Not as good because all the voice acting was gone. Not all of it, like lots of it. It was a very, very, very abbreviated version of Disgaea. Disgaea was great, but the version they had to cram onto the DS was not. A Witch's Tale. This was very lightweight, as I recall. Kind of just an adventure, lightweight RPG, which was trying to appeal to a growing fashion of witches. Not like witches, but magical girl witches, you know. Treasure World. I bought this because I had heard that it used the Nintendo Wi-Fi system in a new and interesting way. It did, but nobody ever cared. The most disappointing game I have seen in a long time. So, the original Valkyrie Profile. Go play it. It is absolutely fantastic. The best game, probably in my top 10. But Covenant of the Plume had a couple of major issues. One of the big issues is that it just wasn't as interesting. But another big issue is that at some point in the game, it gave you a mandatory artifact which allows you to attack more often than you're supposed to in exchange for life. Now the problem is that these Valkyrie Profile games feature you setting up combo attacks between you and a bunch of allies. So if there are 4 people in the party, you might have person A attack with a 3-hit combo, and person B will cut in with another 2-hit combo that kind of interweaves, so you'll get a good series of hits that keeps the enemy vulnerable and gets extra points for juggling them or whatever. But the problem for me was that I memorize those as motor memory, so I will roll my fingers across the pad in a specific pattern, and I had come to rely on that to the extent where I would just continue to roll across people who had already finished all of their moves and couldn't move anymore. So the person with 2 attacks, I would do those 1, 2, and then I would roll across a 3rd and a 4th time, just as the pattern of my thumb. But he wouldn't go anymore because he was done, and it wouldn't interfere with whatever I was patterning out. The problem is that once you got that artifact, the game it's unplayable for me, because all of my characters die due to the overuse of that power. Super disappointing. Super not disappointing. Civilization 5. Baba Yatu Yatu Yatu. Dragon Quest VI, pretty good. Magical Star Sign. This doesn't get enough credit. Most of you have probably never even heard of it. This is a cheerfully childish RPG, except it features a lot of weird, dark stuff kind of interwoven, like there's cloning vats and mutants and all sorts of other stuff. I really enjoyed it. So if you have a chance, if you see this in bargain bin somewhere, you should pick it up and play it. If you like those kind of old school RPGs. Okay, so it's Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, the DS game within the DS game. I didn't much like it. A Ghost Trick, Phantom Detective. This is a really, really underestimated game. Ghost Trick was a very lightweight game done between Phoenix Wright games. They were transitioning Phoenix Wright from 2D to 3D, and they put out this game right then to practice, presumably to practice their 3D skills. And it's very lightweight. It's a simple game. I guess it's probably only about 8 hours long, but it's wonderfully animated, has fantastic characters, some really nice twists to it, and I'm speaking here, I don't often say this, it has some really nice twists in writing. So if you have a chance, you should go play Ghost Trick. The new Super Mario Bros. This was ruined, absolutely ruined by the Golden Tanuki suit. Oh, next. Oops, bumping stuff here. Rune Factory 4. This is the game that convinced me that Xseed could make games that didn't suck. I really liked it. I know that Xseed is just a publisher, but they tend to publish crappy games. Games that rely really heavily on fan service and nothing else. But Rune Factory is an excellent series. If you like that sort of thing, you should definitely go play it. Atelier Iyesha. I don't remember which one this was, but all of the Atelier games are quite relaxing. Time and Eternity. I have a feeling I bought this because it had scantily clad women in it. Once they drop down to $2 or $3, I'm pretty easily swayed. Yeah, I don't remember anything about it. Dungeon Siege 3. I never liked any of the Dungeon Siege games. Microsoft's answer to Diablo. Dragon's Dogma. Dark Arisen. This is the expansion to Dragon's Dogma. I sure hope it comes to PC. Dragon's Dogma. Very good. Very good game, Dragon's Dogma. Coming out in January. I haven't been paid by them or anything. I just like them that much. Shin Megami Tensei 4, the Collector's Edition. Ugh. With all the collector stuff missing. Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. It's a Monster Hunter game. Driver San Francisco, The Box. Resonance of Fate. This was the gun game. Infinite Undiscovery was the one where you cut down the moon. Resident Evil 5. Bum bum bum. We already covered that as well. My Neighbor Totoro. Not a game, but quite good. More. I'm gonna throw all these out once I am done permanently recording my thoughts for posterity. These important thoughts. What else you got back here? Anybody need a Shin Megami Tensei 4 design book? For those people who have never heard of the internet. There's actually a lot of good stuff in this. I really like these books, and I wish there was still a reason to get them. Trashed. Oh, I did not pay $31 for this. I remember quite clearly I paid $1.99. Agarest War is known mostly for its mostly naked ladies. Never actually naked, of course, because then you can't sell it. You can only sell it if they're mostly naked. More games. Alright, let's break into the top shelf. no, I might need another trash bag. Whoa. Nice. Receipts from my landlady taking my payments. This'll be good, because I have to move tomorrow, and I have a feeling she's going to be pretending to forget how much I paid her. Rondo of Swords. This was a tactical game. I remember liking it, but I don't remember anything about it. Was this the one... I think this was the one where you would walk through people to attack them? Yeah, it was. So it had an interesting situation where you would walk through people, which meant that you couldn't use a front guard in the same way you would in Final Fantasy Tactics, because they'd walk through that person, and then they'd walk through whoever you were protecting. Really hard game, because I got so used to playing it Final Fantasy Tactics style. I was like, how do I defend the weak people, the mages and stuff? Clash of Heroes. I don't remember anything about this. Golden Sun, Dark Dawn. This was a good attempt. It kept my interest for quite a while. It's an old school game where you collect Pokemon and fight baddies. Infinite Space. This is the cover for that game I talked about, the one that was really old school. It's a really interesting game. You play as a kid in the first part, and then you graduate to playing as an adult. So here's the kid version of you in the front there. And then you graduate to an adult, and as an adult, you're this like hulking, scarred man who's just not at all like he was as a kid. He's still got white hair, but other than that, he's like huge. And it's like, yeah, okay, him I can believe that he could run a fleet and take over the universe. The kid was like, yeah, right. But him, sure, I can believe it, definitely. And it's really got a lot of power behind it in that old school presentation. It was really interesting. Too hard though. Oh, so here's the game I didn't remember, Hoshigami Remix. I still don't remember anything about it, even if I'm looking at the back here. It looks like it's an RPG. Etrian Odyssey Drowned City. The Etrian Odyssey games are interesting, but they're never interesting enough to keep my attention to the end. I wish they were. They're almost interesting enough, but they fall short after a couple of after the second city. I wonder if it would be possible to take the Etrian Odyssey style and make it into a casual phone game. Something I could play for 20 minutes a day and not keep forgetting all of the things I'm trying to do. My nose is getting really runny from all this dust. Tales of the Abyss. Hated it! My problem with this game was the writing. The main character got blamed for absolutely everything, and he just kind of rolled over and took it. And I don't know, I guess it's because in Japan people take responsibility differently, but every single time he got blamed for something, I was like, kid, you need to go off on your own. You need to get away from these people who are using you as a scapegoat. And instead he was like, I'm so guilty. I was like, no, you're not. Ace Attorney, Trials and Tribulations. I happen to have the little disc for that right here. Back into your original box you go. Yay! Deus Ex, Human Revolution. I found this to be a little bit of a disappointment, but everyone else seemed to like it. My problem with the new Deus Ex games, and it's going to be a big problem with the newer ones, the one that's coming out soon, they don't take science fiction seriously enough. Science fiction has a lot of power. You should not just adopt pieces of it without understanding the comments you're making. That's especially true with this new version, the new game, which is I think called Robot Apartheid. Please, do not make statements that you can't back up. Okay, time to tie this off. Call it full. Ah! Ooh. That was weird. What the heck did I step on? Devil Survivor Overclocked. I mentioned this, didn't like it. I wanted to like it. It was a kind of an interesting combination game. Tactical and also in between each battle you would get to make choices of what you wanted to do. And you had like 13 days or something like that. Really interesting idea. Lots of characters that you could interact with in specific ways, and the strict time limit made it really a powerful game, because people could die if you weren't on top of things. But I just couldn't bring myself to care about it enough. It just felt a little too intangible. I wish it didn't, though, because there were a lot of really good ideas. Theatrhythm. The beginning of the end. Dissidia. Interesting idea. A weird arena brawler with Final Fantasy characters. I think that some people really liked it. I didn't. Pretty. That's the devilish platformer I mentioned. Steambot Chronicles Battle Tour. This. I didn't know I had this. This is a fantastic game. I'm not throwing this out. In fact, it makes me want to buy a PSP. I wonder whether the PSP version is as good. Oh, this is the Battle Tour game. This isn't the same. What's the difference between this and Steambot Chronicles? Mouse. Thank you. Steambot Chronicles Battle Tournament. Yeah. Oh, it's a spin-off. It's not the original. Never mind. Class of Heroes. Let's pull the mouse up again. Mouse. Can I take a look at the camera? There, Class of Heroes. This is one of those games that wanted to be like the Etrian Odyssey games. There is some value to that sort of attempt. It shows you the difference between, how that particular mechanic works when someone else gets a hand on it. The answer is, meh. Blade Dancer. I think this was just like an adventure game where you run around and kill stuff with a sword. Adventure to Go. This was an interesting idea. You actually order up dungeons. It's a tactical game, right? And you build yourself a party and a team and all that stuff. And you wander around, and there's a dungeon creation guild, and you ask them to build you dungeons to your specifications. Also, some of the characters are really kind of interesting. Obviously, the main character was boring as shit, and so was the green-haired witch. But that lady with the cat hood, and the guy with the bulgy eyes, and all the other characters were more interesting. Not quite as stereotypical. FFT. Warriors of the Lost Empire? Yeah, Warriors of the Lost Empire. Oh, I remember this. It wanted to be Monster Hunter and didn't. Didn't work out. Etrian Odyssey 4. The Dustining. Ooh, that's a lot of dust. Dragon Quest 9. Pretty good. Ace Attorney Investigations. I have the disc for that too. Back into your original box. Kingdom Hearts boring. Cave Story. Code of Princess. This was the, I mentioned this one earlier. Don't really remember much about it. Mystery Dungeon, a roguelike. I bought it because I was into roguelikes. I think that a lot of people like that series because it's quite a long series, but I didn't. So this is it. What did I do to deserve this, my lord? Which I thought was the Prinny game, but it's not. It's actually a dungeon building game for the PSP. A very strange one. I got it because I'd heard it was very strange, and it was. Unfortunately, very strange does not necessarily mean good. It's not a terrible game, but it wasn't able to keep my interest for very long. Mana Chemia, Student Alliance. This was a surprisingly good game. If you have a chance, you should try it out. Try and play it. It's a Mana Chemia game, so it's how to describe it? It's like half Hogwarts and half running out into dungeons, collecting things. It's like an Atelier game with the volume turned up. Monster Hunter Freedom. Covered that. Valhalla Knights. I think we covered that too. Tactical game that didn't catch my interest. Phantom Brave, the Bermuda Triangle. This deserves some cred. Phantom Brave and its various descendants are really interesting games. They're kind of like Final Fantasy Tactics crossed with Pokemon. They're really worth playing if you like that sort of idea. That one has the expansion. Jacandia, the Timeless Land. Really? Oh, I remember. I only played this for like 2 hours. I didn't dislike it. I just stopped playing it. Anarchy Reigns. What a great idea. Too bad it just didn't work out. Oh well. That was a game where you played these stereotypical 80s characters, and it had a lot of really good ideas and charm, but unfortunately it just didn't play very well. Oh well. Don't fall. Curses. Well, that's no loss. It's Batman the movie. Cinematic Titanic. Come on. Yeah. I think I owned all the Cinematic Titanic movies. Commentaries. Valkyria Chronicles. No reason to keep it, because it's available on Steam now. A game well known for having an awesome first half, and then you hit the giant steam train fight, and it just sucks. Far Cry. I think that's like Far Cry 3, who knows. Lollipop Chainsaw, already covered that. Dragon's Dogma. I already covered this, but I'm going to cover it again. Coming out on PC. Oh. I very rarely get excited for games. Disgaea 4. Notice what they are wearing. Student uniforms. In the first Disgaea game, Laharl, who's the equivalent of that guy on top, was wearing literally just that cape. The tactics are still quite good, though. In fact, every Disgaea gets better and better tactically. Sonic Generations, covered that already. Marvel vs. Capcom, fighting game, didn't really care for it much. Mugen Souls. Now that I've seen the cover, I remember this game a little bit. I think I did play it, and it was also a very Pokemon-like game, but it had a weird taste to it. Something wrong with it. I don't remember what, though. I stopped playing it pretty quick. Batman, the movie. Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. My Neighbor Totoro, the movie. Some days you can. Persona 4, Battle Arena. I really want to like fighters, but I don't. When you don't have anyone to play them with, fighters, not very useful. Ultimate Ninja Storm Generations. This wasn't it, was it? No. This is just some other Naruto game. I don't remember that one at all. I remember the one with the city quite well. Dead or Alive. Some of them. 5. Dead or Alive 5. All the Dead or Alives are, obviously they are getting more well known now for the Extreme Beach Volleyball series, but even back then they were pretty well focused on ladies with bouncing bits. The problem is that Dead or Alive 5 also had really interesting, unique pieces in its gameplay, so it's not something I can just dismiss as, ooh, that's just for perverts, because unfortunately there really were very, very few fighters that felt quite as smooth as that game. I really liked playing, what's his name, Bane? Beret, the guy with the beret, and the woman wrestler Tina, and the Bass, the big wrestler, because they could do a lot of really cool things, like catch people out of midair and throw them. Also, the counter system was really easy to understand. There was none of the aggressive build-up that you got with Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat with these 85 million things you had to memorize. It was all very, very fluid and basic. It felt good, as opposed to this, which felt like it was just everything that you could possibly have thrown together at once. Oh, let me throw up my mouth a little bit there. Or maybe it was just a burp. King of Fighters. I still have a soft spot for King of Fighters. It's not quite as bad as Street Fighter. Oh, a game I got for way less than what it's listed. At a certain point, they stopped updating these stickers. It wasn't very good. It was an action game about a lady that occasionally gets wet, as I recall. Let's look at some more games. Or, how about let's look at some Spore games. Woo! Well, don't fall. Spore. Oh, Spore really needs its own video, or its own video series. It's hard to explain Spore in less than 10 minutes, so I'm not going to try. But I'm keeping it. Stranger's Wrath. This is an impressively good game. No one ever played it. You should go play it. Oh, it's only for the Xbox? Did they ever re-release it? Wow, that's old. Very good, though. Very good. Didn't get marketed very well, so no one's ever heard of it. Crackdown! Oh, this was an excellent game. This game was one of the very first games where you could leap from building to building, and it felt so right and so organic. The rest of the game was kind of crappy, but just moving felt so good. Bayonetta. A lot of people like Bayonetta. I really couldn't stand it. It felt really bland, and the lady looks like a spider. On the other hand, Assault on Dark Athena. The Chronicles of Riddick games were all really, really well made. They're pretty fundamentally basic first-person shooters, right? You crawl through area. I guess they're third person. No, they're first person. You crawl through these areas and you fight and you do all sorts of stuff. But Riddick is really, really well suited to those kinds of games. So, yeah. If you haven't played them, you should try them. I guess they're a little on the old side now. Halo Wars. I don't remember that at all. Don't care. Oh, look. I was talking about beach volleyball. There it is. I inherited a lot of these games, though. I'm not going to claim that I don't buy games that are this crappy, but I didn't buy this one. Vampire Effect with Jackie Chan. And by with Jackie Chan, I mean he has a 5-minute scene. Still, it's not a bad movie. Not a video game. Oh, that was loud. Little Big Planet. Everybody knows about that game, so I won't bother to talk about it. Scare the Aftermath. We've seen this like 8 times. How many times did I buy this? Oh, I remember it now. I remember it now that I've seen it. This is an adventure game where you walk around a school, I believe, and it just gets steadily worse. It's like one of the old Resident Evils. But one of the old Resident Evils isn't very good, because they are not very good games. There's a Blade Dancer disc, Freedom Hunter Unite disc, double Dragon Tactics. Oh, I don't remember that at all. And Gugnir. I remember Gugnir quite well, just because of the time I played it. It was a tactics game. Pretty good one. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. Borderlands 2, already talked about that. Dead Island, one of the games that came out in the wake of the earlier zombie game I talked about. Dead Island is, I guess not too bad, but they came under a lot of fire because of their incredibly bad idea as to how they should market their game. Remember these guys? Now I have the correct place to put it. Overkill, remember that? Remember that? Saints Row the Third. Virtua Fighter 5. Virtua Fighter vanished off the face of the planet. Nobody remembers it. Not even me. Yeah. Nier. Oh, what a disappointment. Nier was one of those games. Nier had so much potential, and they just frittered it away by slowing the game down to a crawl. Just a shame. A terrible shame. Knight's Contract. I don't remember this. Wow, I don't remember this at all. That was probably bought when I had turned off my PlayStation 3 and I never bothered to actually stick it in and hit play. X-Men Destiny. Ugh. This game was not very good. Red Dead Redemption. Everyone liked this game but me. I couldn't stand it. I think it's because when I tried to play it, I ran into a glitch. I've heard that other people ran into this glitch as well. It's not intended to be part of the game, but I was continuously attacked by some sort of wildcat, like a panther or something, just over and over and over, continuously. I could not ever get to safety except inside of a town. As soon as I left a town, it was a wildcats, just feet deep. Everyone I'd kill would be replaced by two more. Oh, this is an interesting game. This one was made by people who were trying to do a kind of religious thing. It's made by very religious people, but they're not like all from the same church, and they weren't doing outreach. This was a game that was made as a kind of religious meditation, kind of crossover religion, as you were. And it is beautiful. It's just a gorgeous game. The gameplay is pretty crap, but yeah, fun to look at. El Shaddai, Ascension of the Metatron. If you wanted to see some pretty graphics, you could go ahead and watch a Let's Play of that. Yeah, Damnation. I don't remember a thing about that. Enchanted Arms. By Ubisoft. I don't remember it either. Let's take a quick look. Yoink. Give me a chance to blow my nose. I still don't remember it. I'm looking at the graphics and none of it looks familiar. Saints Row 2. This is largely considered to be the best Saints Row game by people who are very serious. It is quite a good game. Saints Row 3 was a lot more tongue-in-cheek and suited my mood a lot more. We have plenty of games that take themselves seriously. Kingdoms of Amalur: Reckoning. The Kingdoms of Amalur series are very interesting because they're like lightweight versions of Skyrim or Dragon's Dogma. They are not bad, but they just go on forever and they don't have enough power to back it up. Dungeons and Dragons Tactics. Don't remember it at all. I think I might actually. I think it might have had nothing to do with tactics, and that's why I have a hard time remembering it. I think it might have been a Diablo-like. Genji, Days of the Blade. Wow, I don't remember it at all. You can tell that this is the era at which I stopped caring about console games. This is Dark Souls, which I already showed you. White Knight Chronicles. The White Knight Chronicles are the same way as Kingdoms of Amalur. They are basically Skyrim light, or rather, White Knight Chronicles had more depth to it than Skyrim did, but it didn't have anything usable. It was like a whole bunch of depth that you just kind of randomly grabbed at and nothing ever went right. And of course it was stretched out way too long. Untold Legends, Dark Knight. The ultimate next-gen action RPG. Which is funny, because I don't remember it at all, so you think I would remember it if it was the ultimate. Well, getting on towards the end, finally. Right? Yeah. Actually, I'm pretty sure I've got another, box of these somewhere, but this is all I can find. Alpha Protocol. Interesting game. Not as well implemented as one might hope. From my perspective, I didn't like it, I just found it interesting. Like this, Batman Arkham City. Batman Arkham Asylum, very good. Batman Arkham City, kind of boring. They put him in too large of a play space. Oh, look, I inherited a cool game. By cool, I'm putting air quotes around that. Hyperdimension Neptunia Mark II, which I don't think I ever played. I don't think I ever even opened the box. But someone must have thought I liked it, because it features anime girls. Afro Samurai. No anime girls, but very interesting game. The gameplay started to falter a little bit in the second half, but the style was fantastic. You should go watch a Let's Play of it. The Cursed Crusade. What the heck is this? I don't remember any of these action RPGs. I bought like 400 of them, or don't remember even one of them. Mass Effect 3. I have a lot of feelings about Mass Effect, which I could make my own video about. I could make a half-hour video solely on Mass Effect. But I'm not going to, at least not today. Just suffice it to say that Mass Effect 3 was my least favorite one, which is why I'm disappointed that it's the one that everyone remembers. Alright, so not much left here. Fire Emblem Awakening. Oh, that was a good one. If you own a DS, you definitely own Fire Emblem Awakening. Super Mario Bros. 2, again, ruined by the gold Tanuki suit. And the last big stack of games. Come on, over here. Come on. Oh, there's actually one more stack after this. Sands of Destruction. Wow, I don't remember this at all. An epic grand adventure. Looks like Tales, but, nope. No memory. I remember this game pretty well. Oh, that's the original. Hurrah! Please tell me it's in there. No! I'm going to show you a good one. Radiant Historia. This is my favorite 3DS game, or DS game. It is Final Fantasy 6th grade. It is just an incredible RPG. It's super rare, or at least, unless it was re-released. Maybe it was re-released. But it is just a fantastic game. Every piece of it is just perfect. I will someday do a big video on this, but I will need to do a lot of screen captures somehow. This is a game that has great characters, great combat, great story, great design, great levels, and it has a really interesting time travel mechanic where you can actually time travel freely rather than being forced. I'm trying to show you that thing in the middle, but it's not focusing. Rather than being forced to do a linear time travel thing like with Chrono Trigger, you have a whole tree of time travel nodes that you can visit and events, and you can just do them any old way you want, whenever you want. You can change how you've done them. That is not in the case. Oh, fuck. I already talked about Paper Mario Sticker Star. Apollo Justice, Ace Attorney. These were pretty good. Not as good as the originals, but pretty good. And I do have that one in the case. Hurrah. Last of Us. This is when I realized that I really couldn't play mainstream games anymore. Everyone was going on about how awesome it was, and I couldn't play it. It was just so incredibly bleak and over the top and boring while also being gory, and it just piled on tension for no reason and tortured its characters for no reason. It's like every game had to be written by J.R.R. Martin. Is that his name, J.R.R. Martin? You know, the winter is coming guy. Another Toturi game. Another Atelier game. I think this is one I actually mentioned before. Sleeping Dogs. An interesting game. I really wanted to like it, but it got totally borked. The PC port was bugged beyond compare for a long time. I guess if I bought it and played it now, I might enjoy it. This, of course, is not the PC game. It's the PS3 game. And I did enjoy it for a while. But unfortunately, the PS3 game had some stuff in it that made it annoying to play. I'm trying to remember why I got bored of it. I think it tried to keep connecting me to the internet. Oh, too much trash. L.A. Noire. This is a really unique game. If you've never seen it, you should go watch a Let's Play of at least a couple of pieces of it. It's a really awkward game, but it has a lot of advocates that point out how interesting it was and how groundbreaking it was. And they're not wrong. I didn't like it, but they're not wrong. It was quite interesting and groundbreaking. Saints Row the Third. Yay! Tales of Graces. Boo. Monster Madness Grave Danger. I don't remember anything about that. Mortal Kombat. Not my favorite. This is Enslaved Odyssey to the West. And it is a game about an ancient Chinese book. Sort of. And it has the most beautiful graphics. I don't know if you can see. You can go ahead and look it up online, do a Let's Play or whatever. Gameplay, not great. Writing, not fantastic. But it just was so gorgeous. Castlevania Lords of Shadow, also known as the we don't want to make a Castlevania game, but we have the Castlevania IP. And Catherine. This was a weird game. If you haven't ever played Catherine before, it is a game where you push boxes around. And I mean it. This is a game about pushing boxes around. You fall asleep each night, and you are challenged to an ever more dangerous array of box-pushing puzzles. And before you fall asleep, you stay at a bar with your friends, and you have the option of, doing various social things with your friends, including sharing texts with this blonde lady who has the same name as your current girlfriend, and you're basically trying to choose between them. Unfortunately, they're both pretty awful people. And so are you. The game is full of awful people. Now, Catherine has a lot of people who love this game and a lot of people who hate this game. I thought it was really interesting to try and combine box-pushing puzzles with this really in-depth story about a guy who's starting to go through his quarter-life crisis. Do I need to have another trash bag? Almost done. sure I can fit them all in one more. Alright, what's left? Just these little pieces. Not much. I think this might be it. I have like a Sam & Max box. I don't see any others. Probably have a whole bunch I didn't unpack. Well. Soul Calibur 5, we already talked about that. Overlord. Overlord 1 was great. Overlord 2, not really that great. Overlord, the mobile game, awful. Left 4 Dead, everyone knows about that. Iconic, not my style. Jackie Chan's gorgeous. Surprisingly good movie. If you like Jackie Chan movies and you haven't seen Gorgeous, you should go watch it. In it, Jackie Chan takes on a ultra flyweight boxer. It's really awesome. Not enough power. Oh, another Jackie Chan movie. Who Am I? This is one you probably also haven't seen. It's not as good, but it has some pieces to it. Like, look at that guy. Come on, focus. Focus. There we are. And in that movie, Jackie Chan forgets who he is. Is that it? Do I have a couple more here? These, why did I stack these on the keep pile? These are all in the throwaway pile. No. Seal it up before they escape. Alright, well, that is the majority of the games that I have acquired since the PlayStation 3. Now I do have a couple more crates full of games, and I guess maybe I'll make another video at some point, but I think this is probably plenty for one video, and now that I've gone over them and picked out the 8 or 10 I want to keep, I don't have any problems throwing the rest away. If you find that any of them are super valuable, let me know, and I will pull them out of the bin. But other than that, I have no qualms about throwing away digital goods. Unless you can convince me I should. Well, that was nice. A nice break from packing. I'm going to go back to packing. But I hope you have a nice week. And if you watched this far, you're very dedicated.